G'day viewers, my name is Michael and welcome back to Single Racer. And now I'll ask you all to please be kind because this is the first time I've ever featured something from the Sim RaceRoom Racing Experience. So I'm still learning all the settings, all the controls and everything. It's a bit confusing to me, but I'm slowly getting the hang of it. So this video will be slightly rougher than my usual ones at least, and so I'm hoping you take that into consideration. The reason for the video is because I wanted to tell you about a competition that I found out about thanks to Mike Smith over at Sim Racing 604. Now, he didn't tell me specifically about the competition, but in his video, which I'll have a link to in the description, he talks about a new track. And so I had just purchased all the content using this, I hope I get it right, is it VRP, Virtual Racing Points, I think it stands for. And I had a little left over and I just wanted to check, do I have enough to get the track? And sure enough, I did. And you get 5 layouts of this one particular track. And so, as you might be able to see here, the track is called Motorland Aragon, or at least that's how I would pronounce it, Motorland Aragon. But there's some good news and some bad news about the competition. The good news is you can also, or you can win the car here, and that is the Volkswagen ID.R, I believe it's called. Now I don't know much about it, but I assume it's one of the fastest electric vehicles that's currently being built, is my understanding of it, but don't hold me to that because I know very little about it. So the good news is you can win this car in the competition for RaceRoom Racing Experience. The bad news is you actually need to purchase the Motorland Aragon track so that you can actually enter the competition on that track. But what they will do is let you drive the car for free in the competition. And then if I show you here, so this is the leaderboard, but if you have a look to the right, you can pause the video and read the instructions. Now, the winner will get the car, but you also have, and this is totally random, you don't have to finish in the top 15, but 15 lucky people will win that Volkswagen ID.R just by entering the competition. So it's, literally just a pull them out of a hat kind of competition, and you have a chance just by entering the actual leaderboard competition. And so I needed to take that up, of course, with the chance to win the car because I already had just purchased the track. And so for me it was a fairly selfish thing because it meant that by getting the track I had all the content up to date in RaceRoom Racing Experience. But of course this car is going to be added later, so what a great way to get the car for free just by entering the competition. And as you can see here, there is still 3 weeks to go if you want to enter. Now, one thing for me as a newbie to RaceRoom was I do like this thing that I didn't realise there were other competitions. I haven't had much of a chance to look around in the sim itself. I was just figuring out, force feedback settings and the obvious things. So it's great to see they're running these competitions, but the Motorland Aragon competition is the longest running one with still 3 weeks to go. At least that's what it shows here. And so let me now show you 2 versions of the Hotlap itself. And what I'll do is, because the engine is so quiet, there's no true atmosphere like with a big V8 or V10 kind of car, I'll talk over the top as well, just to talk about the actual track itself. So let's go to the Hotlap now. Okay folks, so as we make it onto the start-finish line, I must admit I didn't particularly connect with either the car or the track. And not that there's anything wrong with the track. Now the car itself, being electric, only has 1 gear, which is weird to drive it in the first place. But the track is what you'd call a technical track, and there's so many corners where, because I like to run a sort of a narrow or shallow line, there's so many corners that don't quite have a true apex. They either go on forever, or you've got like a double apex, or a lot of the corners you have to dive in deep and then come behind the apex to get a good line on the straight coming out of the corner. And for me, that's not my particular best driving style. So I found it quite confronting to just even stay on the track in the first place, because I was learning it virtually the same day as I'm recording this, and it just didn't gel with my particular style of driving. But for those of you that like technical tracks and, you know, really difficult tracks that you like to sort of unlock and overcome, this would be a fantastic track. The track itself looks magnificent and, you know, is very, as Mike Smith said in his video, very reminiscent of Laguna Seca. It has that sort of feel about it. So it's a great track, but just not particularly a track that suits the way, you know, I like a fast and flowing track, and this one, especially in this car, because it only had the one gear, as you stop, you start, you stop, you start, and so I just didn't have that connection with it. But as we cross the start finish line for the end of the lap, let's go in car and I'll talk you through the hot lap specifically, and, you know, how I managed to do then on the leaderboards. Okay folks, so as we come down this back straight and we totally understeer on that hairpin bend there, let me talk you through a hot lap of this very complex, very difficult track to figure out and unlock. So as we come on the straight here, here's the first example of a corner where I like to run shallow, but see, you got to kind of come behind it. But now we get to a Mugello type double right-hander, which is fairly easy to take, but in this car it's so hard to figure out how to apply the power to get the best out of the corner. This is another one here where I totally understeered and I realised you virtually have to come behind the corner. Same kind of thing here, running deep, and then because the corner turns but then it gets sharper, and there's so many of these types of corners, including these two were the hardest. So you come down and then you immediately got to turn left and the corner just gets sharper and sharper. You accelerate and the same thing again. So where's the apex? You can't find it, so you're not quite sure how much power to give, and you end up understeering off the track, or at least I did for the first dozen times. Same thing here, really sharp, tight bend to the left and then an opening one to the right, which makes it confusing, but then you also have this tighter one now to the right and tighter one to the left, which is extremely important because there's such a long back straight and you need to get all that speed down the straight, and I just couldn't unlock that particular corner. It was it's just too difficult for me, to be honest. So if you like a challenging track, as we come back now to this final hairpin that leads up to the start finish line, you'd love this track. I mean, this is truly a driver's track or a technical track that once you unlock, you'd probably get the most out of it and really enjoy it. But as we cross the start finish line, let's park her over here and see how we did in this quite difficult hot lap. Okay folks, so we'll leave it there, and I'll leave it up to you whether you find this competition interesting or not. But remember, just by entering the competition you have a chance to win the car. It doesn't matter where you finish, 15 people will get picked at random and can win the car. So it's worth entering if you have an idea that you might want to buy the Motorland Aragon track. And so let's look at the leaderboards, and just a slightly funny story in that I exited out and looked at the leaderboard, and I made the top 50. Now, for me personally, I'm happy with that because I don't consider myself an alien. So to get into the top 50 in a car and track I didn't connect with, I was happy with that. But I exited the sim and forgot to take the screenshot. And just 5 minutes later, when I went back in, I'd already dropped to 51. So I was spewing that I didn't get. It would have just been nice to have that 50th place, but here I am at 51 and we'll leave it at that. So enter the competition if you feel like it's something you might like to do. So this is Michael signing out for Single Racer. I'll catch you next time. See you later.